It's Fred and Sheila McCoy, Hatfield McCoy Museum. Sheila's behind the camera.
Hi guys, hope you're having a great day.
This is part 3 of American Vendetta. We're reviewing T.C. Crawford's book, and we'll pick up where we left off earlier.
Okay.
T.C. Crawford describes those who lived around or near Anse Hatfield, he says, as mountaineers of the community. Do not sympathize in any way with the crimes the Hatfields have committed, but are hesitant to furnish even a scrap of information or even give an opinion which would involve them. According to T.C. Crawford, the West Virginia Hatfields' neighbors lived in fear and were afraid to even comment on Devil Anse and the Hatfield family's reputation in fear of retaliation. Now, that's a good indicator as to Devil Anse and his reputation. His neighbors, when T.C. Crawford saw neighbors or people around, or when he was going, you'll hear after a while where he went to the Logan Courthouse. Sorry, I had to stand up. My back started spasming.
That's all right.
It's spasming right now, so we'll try not to stop. But so anyway, again, if you want to know Devil Anse's demeanor and character and all that, Google Bully, B-U-L-L-Y, and that's what you'll get when Devil Anse Hatfield. Even his own neighbors that he lived near wouldn't comment. And I'm sure that they've, from the way the rest of the book, we don't have the entire book here, but I'm sure that they've indicated or gave some kind of indication to T.C. Crawford, because it says there that they wouldn't give Larry scrap, wouldn't furnish even a scrap of information or give an opinion which would involve them. That's T.C. Crawford's writing. Those in the community would be glad to be rid of these outlaws, but will not speak against them.
Wow.
Those in the community would be glad to be rid of these outlaws, but they will not speak against them. Why? This is me. Why would they not speak against them? Fear. They were in fear. T.C. says that would pit them against these domineering outlaws. And that's what he called them. He called them domineering outlaws. The Hatfield bunch, Devil Anse, and the West Virginia Hatfields. And like I said before, nothing but bullies. And they feared Devil Anse and his bunch. T.C. tells a story Devil Anse told him about the Hatfields in 1880. Stopped the McCoys from taking Johnsy to jail on warrants with their Winchesters. Laugh out loud. Not muzzle loaders or flintlocks like Mr. Dotson says in his book. All through here you're going to hear about these Winchesters. This is 1888. Plenty of Winchesters. But Devil Anse is telling him about the story about where they went and rescued, where Rosanna come and got them. They had arrested Johnsy on a warrant, was taking him to Pikeville jail, and Devil Anse intercepted them. Now, that's where Anse and Elias fell out, because Elias didn't want to go. Anse said, if you don't go, you ain't no Hatfield. It was a legal arrest, and Anse Hatfield was no different than Jesse James. Can you see Jesse James, one of his bank robbers, getting caught and them trying to break them out of the jail or away from the sheriff? This is what you had. You had Devil Anse taking the law into his own hands. Now, right here, I think is where, that's where Anse and Elias, good Elias, Devil Anse's brother fell out, because Elias didn't want to go. And Anse said, if you don't go, you ain't no Hatfield. Wow. Devil Anse told his brother that. We've covered that before, but this was Good Elias. And Good Elias didn't want to go that night when he was at Anse's house when Rosanna come riding up on her horse. And he got everybody together, and Good Elias didn't want to go. And he said, if you don't go, you ain't no Hatfield. You know, it's going to be on over in here, but I'll go ahead and say it now. You know, there's a question on this DNA and stuff about Devil Anse, and some of that DNA not showing up right. They're needing a great-grandson to give a sample DNA so they can prove one way or the other. You know what would be funny during all this is, and one day it will happen, somebody will eventually get a DNA, and especially if it's wrong, then they'll see why I harped on it so much. And if it's right, then that's great. I'm glad at least we got to the bottom of it. But wouldn't it be funny, Devil Anse told his brother, Good Elias, that you're going to hear after a while, was one of the best ones, best Hatfields there was, T.C. Crawford says. He tells Good Elias, if you don't go with us, you ain't no Hatfield. And here in the end, when the DNA is done, what if it comes back that actually Devil Anse is not a Hatfield? That'd be incriminating. If you don't go, you ain't no Hatfield.
Yeah.
T.C. Crawford said Anse wanted to kill the McCoys. He wanted to kill Jim McCoy, Tolbert McCoy, but Good Elias wouldn't hear of it. Unlike Wall Hatfield at the pawpaw trees, he stood up to him. When he intercepted those guys that night with Johnsy, he wanted to kill the boys.
Wow.
Now remember, William Keith Hatfield says Jim McCoy was their friend. Jim McCoy wanted peace. Jim McCoy was always there just to take up, make sure nobody got hurt. But yet, here's Good Elias telling T.C. Crawford that Anse wanted to kill the boys. So much for what history spoke about Jim McCoy tried to stop the feud. T.C. says Anse talks about Floyd Hatfield being accused of stealing a hog. Here's where I was wanting to be at the museum. I know some people talk about pictures and documents, but this would be a great place, and this will prove our point. Imagine if we were at the museum right now where I could walk into the other room and show you a document.
Right.
Instead of you taking Fred McCoy's word for it, or Sheila,
Right.
imagine me going over here and showing you where Ellison Hatfield's been charged with stealing 4 pigs from another McCoy. This was before 1878. This was before hog stealing Floyd Hatfield stole Randall McCoy's pig. Ellison Hatfield and 3 other guys stole 4 pigs. They pled guilty and they paid the man for his pigs.
Wow.
But see, you got to take my word for it because we're not at the museum, and I can't walk over here on this wall and show you what I'm telling you. But we have that document in the museum. And that's exactly a good point right there. But I'd planned on doing this at the museum, in fact.
That's okay.
T.C. Crawford said he got, see where we're at there. T.C. Crawford said he got the story of the fight at Blackberry on Election Day, 1882, directly from Good Elias's own lips.
Wow.
Elias Hatfield's own lips. Elias says Floyd McCoy was the one who shot Ellison during the fight with Tolbert McCoy, but escaped. Yet the story on the historical marker dedicated by William Keith Hatfield says Floyd McCoy ate dinner with his brothers that night while they were being held captive. Now, Good Elias, Devil Anse's brother, and then I'll stop this video. Good Elias says that he was there. He says he shot 5 rounds at the McCoys. You know, I've often said, why didn't somebody step in? They were there. Why didn't they step in? Well, Good Elias tells T.C. Crawford. T.C. Crawford interviewed Good Elias at the Logan County Courthouse, not at Devil Anse's house. He went to the courthouse and met Good Elias. And he says Good Elias was one of the finest fellows he's ever met. And Good Elias says that he shot 5 rounds at Floyd McCoy as he ran off and escaped after he shot his brother and so forth. And he said that's the only time he ever got involved in any other feud is because of that. So listen, this was part 3. The next one you're going to see is part 4. We're almost done, but if you want to finish up on the story, just click on part 4 and we'll catch you next time.
Bye. Thanks, like, and subscribe.